one of the Pope's older brothers. He's joining us now. Thank you for joining us this morning, John. I see you're outside, you're on the front lawn of your home right there. Have you had a chance to congratulate your brother yet?
I was able to speak to him yesterday afternoon for about 30 seconds.
What'd you say?
And that's been it. I said, congratulations. And he said, where have you been? And I said, I'm outside talking to people, so I didn't hear the phone ring.
You have had pretty much of a whirlwind over the last 24 hours. Tell us something that might surprise us about your brother.
That would be hard to say, but I suppose the most interesting thing is, I think from the time he was 5 or 6 years old, he knew this was his fate. Not that he would be a pope, that he would be a priest. Yeah. He knew that from a very young age, and his idea never faltered all through grammar school, high school, college.
Yeah, you said there's some pretty remarkable images. He used to play priest as a child?
That's also true. He would take our mom's ironing board, cover it over with a tablecloth, and we would go to Mass. And if you, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if you remember an old-fashioned candy called Necco, those were the communion wafers.
The little wafers, yeah, the little candy wafers.
Yep. So it was all taken serious. It was not a joke. It was.
So where do you think this came from? Do you believe he was just born with this calling?
I don't know if he was born with it or if it was a seed planted by our parents, because he went that route and I went Catholic school teacher principal for my career. So somewhere the seed of faith was planted in us. Can you imagine what your parents would do? To tell you exactly when or how this happened? Yes, you're absolutely correct. I thought about that. Once people left the house, like 10 o'clock last night, then I was able to think about some of this stuff, and that was one of the things. How much our parents be feeling right now?
What do you think they'd be feeling?
Well, extreme joy, extreme pride, and then I think eventually in would come worry as to how Robert is going to handle this, because it's a heavy weight on his shoulders.
Are you worried for him?
Worried? I don't know that worried would be the right word, but I'm concerned, because it's quite a responsibility that he's going to face now, because he's got the task of trying to bring the world's Catholics together, because I think we're splitting apart quickly.
Splitting apart?
And maybe he can do something to bring it back. Yep, I think, well, people are leaving the church. There's factions in the church. There's all sides to option. You know, there's more than one side to an option. I think he's got to try to face those things and somehow talk about it and bring people together to talk about it, to get worldwide opinions.
I think everyone's hoping that's going to be one of the hallmarks of his papacy. Have you ever talked about that issue with him, the fracturing of the church, the fracturing of the faithful?
Just briefly, and I think his main response, in my opinion, and he may be different than I think, is you will see kind of a second Pope Francis. I think he'll kind of follow in Pope Francis's footsteps in terms of some of the policies and the way he conducts himself.
What do you think will be the biggest leap for him as Pope? How will he have to step outside of himself?
Boy, I bet you at this point he doesn't know, because who knows what's going to hit him first. So I think he'll listen to what's being said before he makes that kind of a leap. If that's too big of a jump, and maybe for the first few days, weeks, months, first year, look and see what needs to be done, and where it needs to be done, and who he needs to talk to.
He was, of course, raised in...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say he was, of course, raised in Illinois, went to Villanova. We've been talking about all that. But how do you think all of his years outside of the United States, especially in Peru, have formed his thinking and his spirit?
I think that's why I'm saying he's going to follow in Pope Francis's footsteps, because he knows there are the downtrodden. He knows there are the poor. He knows there are the disenfranchised, the people who don't have a voice. And so I think he will be looking out for that, because that's where he spent so many years, with those people who he worked with, and knows what their needs may be, and maybe he can do something to help them.
The first text I got yesterday after Pope Leo was chosen was something to the effect of, he is a Cubs fan. You cleared that up yesterday, but explain to all of us who are not from Chicago why that is so important, what it means to be a Sox fan and not a Cubs fan.
Well, Sox fan is South Side, Cubs fan is North Side. Our mother's family was North Side, and that's where the Cubs came in. Our father was St. Louis Cardinal, so how Rob picked Sox, one only knows, but that's where he was. So I don't know where it came that he was a Cubs fan. So I did want to straighten that out. I'm sure it's important for the country to know that.
You still call him Rob, right? Not Pope?
Well, you are absolutely correct, because I never called him father either. This is my brother, the father. No, never did that.
And
I think it will still continue, Rob.
And I know you're going to be heading to Rome. What's the most important thing you want to say to your brother when you see him?
Take a moment to relax, and we're proud. And good luck.
Thank you so much. That was fascinating to talk to you. Congratulations on your brother's election.
Thank you.
And for more on the new American Pope, you can see a special 2020 tonight at 9, 8 Central right here on ABC. Michael?
All right.